right at time, so.
You gonna trust me to do that this time?
You guys ready in the back?
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Get a copy.
Okay.
I was gonna let her.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to call the March 10th meeting of the Audit Committee to order. 4:03. Sorry about the tardiness. First thing we need to do is approve the agenda. Do you have any comments about the agenda? I would like to add, as the acting chair of the Audit Committee, I would like to add just a brief discussion of appointments. I was the vice chair of the Audit Committee, now moving into the chair role, and so would like to discuss under perhaps new business, an appointment for a replacement in the Audit Committee. That's okay with everyone? Okay. All right. Motion to approve the agenda then? You want to make?
Yes, so moved.
Thank you. All right. Bobby, as a point of order, can I just call for a roll? Do we call for a roll call or just?
You've got everybody here, so.
Okay. So everybody, all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. I'd like to go next to the invocation. Mr. Bob, would you mind leading us in prayer?
I won't mind.
Thank you.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, how grateful we are for all that you do for us, your many blessings you give to us, including living in an awesome county. So as we gather tonight to understand and help our county business, we just ask you to guide our discussions, guide our thoughts. We thank you for watching over us. Thank you for watching over Renee and her family during this time of trial. So thank you for your blessings. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just want to start with a few remarks. Thank you all for your indulgence of moving the meeting from March 3rd to March 10th. I think that worked out for everyone. Mr. Stanton was out of town, so I know he was going to have to miss our March 3rd meeting, so thank you for being here today. And just want to see if anyone else wanted to add comments, to my sentiment. Of course, the whole community is mourning the loss of Supervisor McCarty, and he was our chair of the Audit Committee, and really, this audit committee was his brainchild. He wanted to get this together to help the county and to help our efficiency and the way we work. And I think it was the right thing. And best thing we can do is carry on and continue to work diligently for our citizens. Anyone else have any comments about Supervisor McCarty?
He will be missed.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Okay. Next, we can move on to approval of January minutes. You have those before you. Does anyone see any changes or comments on those? That was a good meeting in January. Of course, in light of Supervisor McCarty's passing, we did cancel the February meeting, and now here we are in March. So, Chair will entertain a motion to approve January minutes.
I move we approve the minutes as they were provided.
Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay.
I do have a
Great.
comment in
Yes.
reference to the minutes, and that would be, I know that we had discussed forwarding a formal presentation of cash handling procedures. Where do we stand on that?
Yes, we can
We got
talk.
the literature, right?
Yeah, we'll talk to Ms. Sly about that. We can have you come up, Ms. Sly, you're next on the agenda. I have just as point number 7, changed the agenda up a little bit at my discretion and just said visitors. So if we have visitors to the audit committee that can help us with insight and action, then we'll bring people in from time to time. Lucky enough, we have Stephanie and Lisa on our committee, and so I think that's great. But in between the January meeting and today, I was fortunate enough to meet with Ms. Sly and Mr. Keaton and Ms. Wells, Mr. Jones. Can't remember, Don, if you were in there or not. But, we met as a small group and talked about, Ms. Sly and her new role and things that have come up both through the audit as well as, I think there was a handoff audit that the state did, and just lots of questions. And I know you as an audit committee wanted the opportunity to speak to the treasurer. So we talked about some of those things. One of the things we talked about when we met, when was that, Stephanie, do you remember? 28th of February, something like that? It was the end of the month.
Yeah.
End of February-ish.
Yeah.
And so we did meet in Randy's conference room and talked about things. One of them we talked about was cash handling procedures. So I know that we had been given, what the county follows as cash handling procedures. I think you have a copy of that as revised. Maybe Stephanie and Julie can both shed some light on things that have changed. I know one of the concerns I had about cash handling procedures was just that if the county was going to go by these procedures and these rules, that everybody could agree to them. And we wanted Ms. Sly's expertise to see, how she might change those things. Again, one of the specific concerns of mine was how we handle cash at the fair, since that's probably most of the time when cash becomes an issue, although I understand we're doing a lot of things online through Ticket Spice. I know we're doing a lot of credit card transactions, so cash is less and less, yeah, a big deal. But wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page and could go, just go by the same rules. So, Ms. Sly, I know it's been a little bit shy of 2 weeks or so that I would say since we met. So, was there anything glaring or anything? Did you have an opportunity to review the cash handling?
There's not anything that stands out to me that I would change.
Okay.
It all seems pretty easy to maneuver through, so far as working with the Parks and Rec staff to make sure, or their main person, which typically is Jenny Lee, for how to fill out forms and all of that, and then verifying funds and everything. So it seems pretty user-friendly.
So this is an audit committee, and obviously the next step would be to present, I think if you would agree, Ms. Wells, to present and you would agree, Ms. Sly, to present these cash handling procedures, revenue control policy to the Board of Supervisors for adoption. Would that be the next step? Yeah. I want to make sure that when we say we're going to do something, we do it, and there are some stipulations in here for training. So if it was Jenny Lee and maybe Mr. Frickensee, whoever that would be, I call him frankincense, he knows that, but Frickensee, I think, is actually how you pronounce it. So, working with Mike and his team to make sure that there was appropriate training, make sure everybody's on the same page before the fair rolls around again, which will be here before we know it. Do we take cash at the tractor pull as well? Or is that all electronic?
Unless they've changed to selling tickets only prior to, yes. They do at the spring fair event, they don't call it spring fair, spring fest events. They do take cash there as well, yes.
So I believe that date's April 24th, sometime at the end of April.
And the person that, if it's the same person that's been doing their special events, she has had training. But in addition to, we did go over this policy with the Parks and Rec Department. So the one little minor addition that we made since that discussion that we had with them, we will point out to them. And that was just how that piece, because they're not centrally located, that piece is written a little bit different. But everything they do for the fair will continue the same. So that person should already be trained on that process.
I think this will strengthen what we're able to do for the citizens. And again, one of the things that Supervisor McCarty wanted to take on as far as, memorializing what our actual process is, making sure it was in writing instead of more of just a guideline, that it was actually cash handling procedure that was adopted by the board. So, anyone have any more comments before we let Julie kind of talk? And thanks for coming today. Wanted to make sure we had open communication, that we're here to help you and that we can ask you questions, you can ask us questions, and just see how we can work together. So do you think that needs to be a formal motion to, well, let's go ahead and do that. Someone make a formal motion. I don't think I can make a motion, but somebody make a motion to refer the cash handling procedures to the Board of Supervisors for adoption.
I make a motion.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wells made the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, well, we'll send that to the board. So that's that part of the packet, so that's good. So again, today we've invited Honorable Julie Sly to talk to us. And, you know, Julie, I think we talked about this when we met at the end of February, that the audit committee reviewed the, you know, county audit reports, and the audit committee did not have a chance to review what we have. And I don't know, do you have a copy of this, the state?
Not with me, but I
Hand
did
over.
get a copy.
Okay. Yeah, I gave one to those two. If you want to pass that to Ms. Sly.
Oh, you ended up getting them too.
Yeah, just.
Maybe we'll refer
I didn't know you
to a
were
few
getting
of those.
Let me go get my reading glasses.
Okay. Randy, that's the copy of the county audit report.
I didn't realize that you were. That's
I'll
what
take
you were
another one of
doing.
those.
So, yeah.
She did this,
I did the same thing.
Stephanie made the copies of the handover report.
Oh. Sure, thank you.
Oh, yes, this is the same thing. Okay, great. Well, we killed a few trees, but that's fine. Great, so at the last audit committee meeting, well, you know what, before we dive into that, Julie, tell us how it's going in the treasurer's office. Thanks again for coming, and I know this gentleman has some questions for you, but just wanted to,
I was, for the first time, fully staffed November 1st, so all year. I missed a key position, which was the chief deputy, for most of the year. She started October 1. She was still working on training the other collection members as we were getting them staffed. So now she has started training and learning how to do all the same stuff that I do. She started that in January. She trained, and then of course December is our busy month for taxes, which that has been a real, I don't even know what to call that, with the mail and everything. That has just been a mess. So we've gone back down to we're minus a part-time position, but I think we've hired and we've worked it around, and I think I'll have my new person starting April 1st, so we'll be back full staff again April 1. It's just been a learning curve. I know a lot of the duties in the treasurer's office. I knew them before from working in the treasurer's office for 15 years, but there were some duties that I didn't know. There were some procedures that were not there and available, and some of them were because Miss Wells did them all the time, and she just never created it. You know, so it was a learning curve in trying to figure out how to do this work. So,
No, not me.
no,
Judy Wells.
Judy
Yeah,
Wells.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
There's two Miss Wells. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was confused.
I know what you
Might
meant.
have been too. So
No, okay.
Thank you.
Previous treasurer Judy Wells didn't create the procedures because she knew how to do it. She had been doing it for so long. So I've just been having to figure that out and muddle my way through that. And, you know, Munis has not been the nicest. Seems like as we do the upgrades, it doesn't always work as nicely as it did the previous time before. So
I'm sorry, Munis, is that a financial management system?
it's our operating system
Okay.
that we do everything in.
Thank you.
So it just makes it tough sometimes. But we're getting the hang of it. We're learning how to work through the quirks. We're working on really closely with IT, with having to deal with some of the Munis issues. So we're getting it.
If I may ask you a question about Munis, have we started, and sorry, Stephanie, I didn't ask this before, but have we started with Tyler Cashiering? Can we take online payments for things that citizens want to pay?
Tyler Cashiering is not what they said it was.
Right.
Tyler Cashiering would be great if we only billed one time a year, and if citizens paid by using a bill number. That's how that whole thing is driven, but there's a lot of issues, and there's still not a fix. Even though they do the upgrades for the packages, it's still not a fix. Like, if you pay, you know, citizens have gotten used to paying your real estate, your personal property, everything on one check. Well, now if they go in and they try to pay their personal property and their real estate, but it's the first half for real estate, then it's going to take and pay the whole thing to their real estate and leave their personal property unpaid. And we are back and forth with Munis, and there's other localities that have twice a year billing that's having the same issue. So it's just, it's not really, we use the credit card part of it as much as we can, but that's turning into a little bit of a manual process as well, but not as bad as the old credit card system that we have in place as well.
And their percentage that they charge for using a credit card, that went up
That
this year,
is
didn't it?
higher. It is 2.4% with the old system. It's 3.75 with Tyler. However, with the old credit card system, it was $2.50 a check, where with Tyler, it's $1.50. So you got a cheaper rate, and then you still have the ACH option that where we withdraw. You send us a voided check, and we'll withdraw straight from your checking account, either on the due date, on the 5th. You know, we try not to get a whole bunch of things to be drawn out, because somebody has to do that every time. We have to set it up to withdraw it.
Okay. So is there any support we can give, any of you ladies, with working with Munis and helping to kick Tyler Cashiering down the road?
Yeah, I know that IT was working with her office to
Yeah.
try to figure out a solution. So right now it's turned off, right?
Yeah, we're not even using it because it won't. It was gonna take us too long. We'd have to do twice as many steps, so we just went back to the cash receipts, the old way of doing it, so that the citizens wouldn't have to stand there so long.
Are you still using Lockbox?
No,
Not at all.
no. We closed that.
This is a software application that we bought a license for, so we're kind of at the mercy of the developer and however they issue updates to it.
Yes, sir.
But from my perspective, it's been so many years. I mean, I know when I served on town council, we had waited probably 7 years, right, since we had signed the contract with Munis.
Yeah, but not for Tyler Cashiering. Tyler Cashiering, she just requested to be implemented when she.
Oh,
came
okay.
on.
Oh, my apologies. I thought that
Yeah.
that was a long-standing request that,
So we had not employee, but citizen self-service. So we still have, since before Tyler Cashiering, we're taking payments online. But this was supposed to be a better product, and that doesn't seem to be working for their office, so.
Yeah, it's not exactly what they told us it would do.
so you say other localities have issues with it as well. Is there an alternative, or are we stuck with Tyler?
Well, we're kind of stuck with Tyler as an ERP system, our main financial system, and stuck in general terms. I mean, we could always do RFP and try to get a new financial software, ERP software system, but that brings its own challenges. It would be better to try to work with Munis and see if we can figure out which is better, Tyler Cashiering or to go to a different platform. But it's gonna take some time to work that out. And I haven't been a part of the full process. I mean, I'm willing to be if I need to be, but
Yeah, it just seems to be stuck, that they're not developing what needs to be done to make it work. And they just tell us it's in development.
Could you use some support from somebody like a Mr. Grice who can talk to him?
I mean,
About
if he's
expectations.
got any pull with Tyler, I'm sure IT would appreciate it too, because they
maybe something we could get an update on for the next audit meeting if you want, so that we can check with IT, Tyler, Julie, and find out where we are in the process and what can be done and how quickly.
And a timeline, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a time when this software sunsets, when the license runs out, and we can think about moving on to the next? Do we know what that date is? Is it?
So Tyler is an ERP system that constantly updates their product, and they also buy out the little guys as well. So we're not in a sunset situation because they're not dying out, so to speak, and they're constantly updating their program. But the problem is there's only a handful of products out there that will do a municipality, and they all bring their own challenges.
Okay.
So yes, we could change, but we might have a different problem with somebody else. So there's not a key product on the market that's better, way better than everybody else. And even if there were, it would be so expensive, we wouldn't be able to afford it.
Okay.
So I don't think that there's enough problems with this platform that we should really consider leaving Tyler at this point. I do have an issue with how much it costs, but it would probably be the same with anybody. So we have talked briefly internally about maybe doing an RFP just to see what else is out there and let Munis know that we're serious about not being overcharged. But other than that, I don't see where we could quickly get out of the Tyler Munis market, so.
Does Iowa County have its own license, or do we have a consortium with other municipalities on the same license that we could leverage some
We
buying
have our
power?
own,
Okay.
and the towns actually partner with us in the schools as well. We're all on the same product, and IT helps support all 4 agencies.
I'm just curious if there would be a potential for a consortium of municipalities to kind of get together and apply some leverage through maybe a joint RFP or something. I
I'm
mean,
sure you mentioned, some other localities that were having issues. I mean, that's a good idea, kind of get a group together. It's always good when you have numbers.
Yeah, and I don't know how much, like, there's several versions of it. So, like, some of the localities are on a lower version than we are. Some of them are on a higher version. They're on the most up-to-date version. So I don't know how that affects Tyler cashiering either.
So updates, every time there's an update, they call it a new version, like 2017.9, or we're on 2021.1, and there's a 2021 point something else. So that's what she means by versions, where,
Yeah.
yeah, well, I'm just trying to brainstorm here. What can we do to make sure that we're not hostages to their development capability or lack of development capability? What's the art of the
well,
possible?
we're hostages to the market and how the market works in general,
So-
So it's what everybody's paying, unless the consortium that you're referring to becomes, I just don't see how, because it's a marketable product and they're marketing at what they find is what they can sell it for. So I don't see how we could change their minds even as a consortium, which I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just not sure how we muscle up to them and make them lower their price.
I actually think this subject deserves its own attention, but today is not the time to
Right, I agree.
discuss it in its fullest. So if we could move on.
Yeah, so
Mr.
does this
Chairman.
group, somebody want to lead that up? Anybody interested in having a meeting between now and the next audit committee to?
I'll be happy to help dig into it.
Okay.
I just think we owe it to our county to ask those hard questions
Agreed.
and apply leverage if we can.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
And thanks for the insight on the market space.
Very good. Okay, well, I know that Mr. Grice prepared a few questions. I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to say. I wanted, perhaps other members of the audit committee have questions about the turnover or the handover audit that I know that you received not long ago. I want to point out that this turnover audit is dated December 5th, and I think we got it
The day
Maybe
of that meeting.
the day of
that
our
morning of
meeting.
that meeting,
So
yeah.
if that, in fact, I'm going to look and see if it was 27th or 28th of February, but I'm not sure why it was 21st. Not sure why this letter was written December 5th, but none of us got it until February 21st.
Yeah, I
But
thought the county's government was slow.
yeah, so.
State is beating us. We're gonna have to slow down, I guess.
But again, I know Mr. Grice, I do want to talk about, some of the things that we talked about in the meeting, but I know Mr. Grice had some questions too, so. Again,
Yeah,
thanks for being here.
I'd like to start with, would you be kind enough to share with the committee your perception of the duties as the treasurer and how these duties are related to everyday operations of the county's services?
The duties of the treasurer is to handle the state funds, to handle the investments and the banking. Any additional duties, which would include the localities, taxes, and anything like that, is in addition to what the state requires that I do, which is the state funds, the investments, and the banking.
The investment of what funds?
The investments of the county's funds.
I believe tax collection is part of your duties, like our property tax as well, right?
That's in addition. That's not a requirement.
It's not in the statutes for that?
The only, I mean, that, most of the time they have it, localities have it in their, charter.
If
that-
it's a city, it would be in the charter, but
Well,
as a county, it
yeah.
would be under our county
Ordinances
statutes.
and-
No,
yeah.
the statute, the state
Statutes.
statute, yeah.
Then it's in that, but it's not a requirement.
I beg to differ. Virginia Code 58.1, 3127.1. All amounts to be received or expended by any department or agency head of a political subdivision of Commonwealth by virtue of federal grant, forfeiture, or other disposition of federal funds shall be made payable to the treasurer of any political subdivision and shall not be made payable to the department. So anything that we're receiving from grants, et cetera, come into you on behalf of the county.
Okay. You take those things now?
Yes,
Right. Okay.
yes.
So, Mr. Jones, you think we're in compliance with
She's supposed to be collecting.
that code? Right.
Also in 58.1, 3127, the treasurer shall keep a correct account of all monies received and dispersed by him, including, so I mean, it says, each treasurer shall receive the state revenue and the levies and other amounts payable into the treasury of the political subdivision of the Commonwealth served by the treasurer. And that
The
doesn't
levies
say
being
ju-
property tax, right?
Yeah, it doesn't say just, it says state revenue and the levies and other amounts payable into the treasury. That's all of our fees.
Important job.
Well,
Yeah.
let's go forward with that.
And,
Yes, go ahead.
and if I may, one last thing. On Mrs. Sly's website, it says that her responsibilities are collecting, custody, dispersing for local, state, and federal funds, including animal license, business taxes, meals taxes, personal property taxes, public service corporation taxes, real estate taxes, sheriff and clerk's fees, and state estimate and income tax. That's on your website.
Yes,
Well, you're saying that's your responsibilities.
yes, because all of that is part of what I actually collect now. But whenever I went to the new officer training is when they told us that the state funds, the banking and the investments for the locality was all that we had to do, and then the locality collecting for the locality was in addition. Because there are locations like Lynchburg and Richmond that their treasurer does not collect their property taxes.
They're
Those
cities.
are both cities.
Lynchburg
Yeah.
They're
has a charter.
cities, yeah,
Lynchburg is a county with a charter.
yeah.
Okay.
So for all counties,
No, but not Lynchburg, because they have a county charter.
gotcha.
But with anybody else, there's no one else to collect these funds. There's no one authorized by state code to collect any of the fees except the treasurer.
Okay.
Okay.
So just for the people at home, we might not have picked up Mr.
I've
Jones's.
learned something new.
Okay. Might not have picked up Mr. Jones's voice on the microphone, but we were just having a brief discussion about collection of money, whether it be any money, fees, pet fees, personal property, real estate taxes, all the things.
Well, in
Seems
light
like
of what Mr. Jones has just read, isn't the timely collection of all revenues due to the county and the appropriate manage of county resources part of your responsibility? I'll repeat that. Isn't the timely collection of all revenues due to the county and the appropriate management of county revenues part of your responsibility?
Yes, sir.
I'm certain you're aware of the collection rates maintained by rates now. I'm talking about rates, percentages, maintained by your predecessor. Okay? With both real estate and personal property, which is a large portion of our tax base, above 95%. Matter of fact, they were 97, 98% and change. Can you share with this committee why it is essential that the treasurer, yourself, maintain a high collection rate for the healthy, day-to-day operation of county services?
Well, the taxes and the collection of the taxes is the revenue that the county uses to pay the employees and to function. So when I started in January of '24, the collection rate was down to 87%. And based off of the report that came out for January, the percentage is 97 for personal property and 98 for real estate now, since I have started. So from January 1st of '24 through the end of January of '25, we've gone up from the 87% back up to the 97, where my two collection people have been working on collecting, and they still are aggressively collecting as many back taxes as possible.
Some of that has to do with timing, right? Like when you're in January, when you're in February, and the collection percentages go up, the more time.
Well, you're
Sets
going to
the
get
bill.
hit with it twice a year
Yeah.
when there's a major adjustment to the flow of cash.
And I believe since January of 2024, between Ms. Sly's office and Ms. Wells' office, you all have been providing a collections report, right? With comparisons.
Yes.
And I know as a board, we've asked Mr. Keaton to make sure he's comfortable with where we sit, by month. And I think that you had stated that you felt like it was comparable, Randy, to previous years. Yes, he's shaking his.
The audit, we still had, it was pretty similar to previous years.
Okay.
Since the Board of Supervisors oversees the operating budget in total, salaries of your people along with everyone else, not necessarily yourself, how essential is it that they are aware of ongoing status of collections and the availability of both restricted and other cash assets? How important is that to their management?
board?
ability? To the board.
To the board? Well, yeah, they should have the figures and be able to know what the percentage rates are, what's, all of that. I think they should know that, because that's how they determine budgets and everything for the upcoming years, based on the information that's available to them.
Well, isn't it not your responsibility to keep the board informed, at least on a monthly basis?
The tax levy report has been between Stephanie, Ms. Wells' office, and myself doing it. She made some corrections to it, but that's also based off of the AR being balanced and being able to get those figures from that.
And so I think in the last year, we've changed some of that responsibility, right? So you
I'm doing it now. Yes.
provide,
My office, yes.
your office provides the collections and then cash balances. Is that correct?
Which was not previously a function that you performed. It was a function that the Treasurer's Department provided, along with a cash status chart of both restricted and non-restricted funds.
I'm not sure about the chart. I don't recall that. I'm not saying no, I don't recall the chart.
It was one of the three reports that we received on a monthly basis.
Gotcha.
The other one was the cash situation, which was reported on investments. Do you produce that report?
Which one? Yeah,
What is it called,
Cash accountability.
accountability?
I've been doing that one as well.
But that came from the treasurer's office, did it not?
The treasurer, they have taken over doing the bank reconciliations, and the AR is now part of her office. It's not done in mine. It was removed out of mine earlier in '24.
Why was that?
I didn't have the staff to do it. There was no staff in my office to do that. When they divided the utilities, it took out staff that would do that type of work, so there was no staff for that.
How many did you let go on your first day?
It was just the front line.
How many was that?
That was 2.
I won't get into the discussion of staffing at this particular time. That's a whole nother subject, I think. As of the end of 2024, you were managing county cash assets that exceeded $86 million. What would you describe as essential elements of successful cash management? I mean, you're managing $86 million of taxpayer money right now. What are key elements that you use on a daily or weekly, hourly, monthly basis to manage that cash, that money?
If there is an abundance of it in the checking account, then we move it into the short-term investment so that if we need it later, we can pull it back easier to cover payrolls. Because we cover our payroll, we cover the portion of the payroll that or the money that we set aside for the schools, that we have to pull money sometimes to cover that, and just the daily functions of the county, paying out the payments for the county.
Have we missed any payments in the transfer of these funds and back and forth?
Not that I know of. Not that I'm aware of.
Have we missed any of those payments?
There's been some payments missed to the schools.
But I've gone back and put them
They've been
in.
caught up.
Yeah, I didn't know that that they were transferred from there, but I've gone back and gave them those funds.
I will
But
tell-
there wouldn't be any other, what I would call investments, payments missed, so to speak, unless you're referring to, have we gotten too much in a cash account versus an investment account? I mean, that
And
happens.
the timing of those transfers. You know, I mean, if we're gonna write $3 million worth of checks, you gotta have $3 million to cover it. And it's gotta be there.
I think probably between the two of us, it hasn't gotten missed for those types of payments.
The county's citizens elect just a few individuals to manage its service programs. Board of Supervisors, the Commonwealth Attorney, Clerk of Courts, the Sheriff, Commissioner of Revenue, and a Treasurer. You've been in your treasurer position now for over a year. In light of the recent auditor's report, which I've been through, how would you evaluate the performance of your duties to date?
Well, I've learned a lot whenever the auditors came in. This is one of those learning situations. When I started last year in January and February, I called the state about the submitting the files for the vouchers, the estimated vouchers, because I was having a hard time getting an export file. I would submit it and it would reject it, and I would run it again and submit it, and it kept rejecting it. And the lady that I spoke with on the phone said that I didn't have to submit the payment but one time a month. Well, when they came and did my audit in, I think it was August, they told me no, I was supposed to be submitting them every day. Well, I had been putting the vouchers in with the correct date of when we received them. I was just submitting the payments one time a month. So whenever he told me that I was doing that part wrong, then I changed it and I went to submitting the payments every day like I was supposed to. So that's why the part about the estimated, the sheriff fees, and the manual receipts are noted on here. And manual receipts are receipts where people come into the office, give us their vouchers, and we handwrite them a receipt to take with them instead of them mailing them. When they mail them, but we still have to key the manual receipt in just like we do the voucher that comes in the mail. And I date it, whatever date I get it. And so they were going into, and the file, when we could actually get the file created to send to the state, then it had the correct dates that the vouchers were submitted. It's just the payment wasn't submitted to the state until the end of the month. So that's part of that write-up, was that it wasn't being done in the timely manner. The money to them wasn't being submitted in the timely manner. So, but that has been corrected, and now they get it every day. That I have one, they have it. And then the reconciliation, that's one that I'm still working on, trying to get everything caught up. Because I was trying to catch up some other stuff, and where it's a little difficult to do multiple jobs at one time. So it was, until I could be fully staffed. So I'm working on getting the reconciliation part caught up and turned into them now.
Was part of that what we talked about in our meeting on the 21st? Thought there was something you ladies agreed to hand over. Like you were doing something and you were going to hand it over to Ms. Sly as soon as she was staffed and can handle it.
Oh,
Was that-
we were talking about the bank reconciliations, hopefully by the first of the new fiscal year, she'll be in a position to be able to take back the bank reconciliations. But we didn't confirm any of that as far, I believe what I said was, I'd like to get it caught up and see where we are at that point, and see where her office is as far as being up to speed with all their current duties.
Then I think we're down to promptly in the audit, the handover audit, promptly record
Yeah.
manual
I have
transactions.
just
Oh,
a
you have
couple
another?
more
Oh,
questions,
sorry.
if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Yep.
When they elect these people to be in office, to run the county, they elect them as a team, to work as a team, to see that their services are provided. They're paying for them. My question to you is, you've told me about your performance to date, and I've heard a lot about staff and how you're still behind. What is your ability to, or how would you evaluate your ability to work as a team member to ensure the smooth operation of services within the county?
I work very well as a team with anybody that, is willing to work. I'm all about getting it done and getting it done as, and keeping it up to date. I don't like things to be behind. That's not how I would normally do. I like my stuff to be done, and I try to keep it done in order. And, I work well with people.
The only thing I will add to that is that that is not what I have heard. And I encourage you going forward to please become a team member. The last question I have for you is because I'm helping a young man do his taxes. And so does your office accept payments for state income tax?
Yes.
So you'll act as a conduit for the state?
Yeah. His income tax, he has to take it over to the commissioner's office first, and then they bring it over to us. They have to key it in, and then it comes over to my office, and I submit it from there.
Annual and estimated payments, like if someone was doing the estimate.
This is the first time he's ever doing taxes. I
Okay.
don't want to tell him no.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it goes over to the commissioner's office for them to input it, and then they put it on a form and send it over to me, and I submit it to the state.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Will you guys pass that to Ms. Sly? Sorry, there was a copy of, was that from you?
No, I got a couple questions when
Okay.
you yield.
There was a copy of just some fodder on Neighbor Next Door, and, I'm not the biggest fan of Neighbor Next Door or social media for airing, grievances or business things, but, I think we all have to kind of put our feelings aside, right, and understand that social media is the way that people communicate these days. I'll just give an example. Budget season last year, we had very few citizens that actually showed up to the public hearing about budget, but there was certainly a lot of talk about it on Facebook, some of these different groups that people have, or Neighbor Next Door, et cetera. Certainly you understand as well as I do during campaigns, people flock to social media to talk about things. So I don't know if you were given a copy of that or not, but, we had some copies of things that people say. Again, take it for a grain of salt or what it's worth, but there has been discussion on Neighbor Next Door. I think some of those are highlighted as to some very specific concerns of paying things that they owe, citizens who've made some complaints about the treasurer's office and just the way things are handled, sometimes things that are said. Again, I haven't read every single one of them, but I thought that you should have those if we did. And did Randy, somebody provide that?
I actually pulled that together, Chair.
Oh, you did?
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
And that probably relates to some of your questions. So I wanted you to have that, Julie.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Sly, Mike Stanton here from Morgan's Beach. Thanks for coming today, and I don't envy what you do every day. I mean, the person's got to mail out you owe me's all the time. It's probably not a very popular profession anywhere in the world. Let me just kind of start out, given how your first year has gone and the growth and the development and the learning curve, as you said. Where do you kind of want to be at the end of 2025? Where do you want to be sort of at the end of your term? What are sort of the 2 or 3 big things that you have sort of in your mind you'd like to get accomplished to kind of, we always want to leave something in a better condition, which we assumed it. What's sort of that thinking for you?
Well, what I'm work on as I am learning new things and as I have learned, how to do different procedures that I didn't have procedures before, I try to make sure that there are procedures written and they will be available not just on the computer, but there will be a flash drive left on the desk. And there will definitely be, if somebody else is replacing me in 28, then they are welcome to come in and see how the procedures are done, especially if they're a new treasurer. A lot of times people will run and they have no clue how or what is even expected of them, what's expected from the office, nothing. They will be welcome to come in and sit and just see what is actually expected of them. All the files, everything will still be right there. Employee files so that they'll be able to see it. I had none of that left for me. And I just, by the time I get to that point, my goal is that it will be smooth running. There won't be any issues. We'll have it, all the kinks worked out and all the wrinkles and stuff worked out and everything going smooth. And they won't have a office with any vacancies left, because I've told my staff that they're not, when it comes the election year, they're not allowed to be involved. They can, whatever they do on their personal time is them, but they're not allowed to be involved because whoever's coming in next needs staff that knows what they're doing to push along, and it's not a good feeling if you're going to come in and there's the other staff that was, it's just a lack of trust whenever some of the staff that's there, was not sure how much they would sabotage.
Okay,
So.
thanks. I synthesized these remarks from Neighbor Next Door, and social media being what it is. I just thought I'd leave this with you as simple. Now, I think we've all been around long enough to know that a few malcontents aren't necessarily representative of the performance of an organization, right? So, but my question becomes, what qualitative or quantitative measurement tools do you have to kind of assess, all right, well, here's 4 or 5 malcontents, but there's 12,000 happy taxpayers in the county. Do you have any kind of means to measure that?
I don't know that there is, because the complaints typically depend on the person at the time, wherever they stand in their life at the time. This year, they might not be able to afford their taxes and they pay it late. Next year, they might be able to afford it, but they just forgot it and they have to pay the late fee next year, and they're like, okay, but it's not as much of a burden one year to the next, so it's not that big of a deal. And some people just think that paying with their state refund is how you pay. So they don't even get the full gist of how much they're paying in penalty and interest and all of that. And there's been a big upset with the citizens, because in the new officer training for myself, they told us no penalty and interest should be removed. Those are state items. We can take off the fees, like admin fees and stuff like that, but we were not to remove penalty and interest. And that was something that had been done before, so that's what kind of everybody was still expecting. And I told them, I said, we're not taking it off. I'm not being wrote up for that. And it's all the way across the board. Whether I know you, I don't know you, you voted for me, you didn't vote for me, it doesn't matter. I've told them I want it stuck to this. There are, certain leeways. Of course, postmark date is always one. If you are active duty military deployed or you were in the hospital. Now, we also have the, if it was an error on the county's part, so like a wrong address or something like that, we didn't bill it or whatever, then we can make a concession for that. But otherwise, if you did not pay by the due date, it is the same for everyone. So some of that is just people getting used to changes that should have been implemented all along.
Last question, it kind of relates back to what Mr. Grice was asking, maybe couched slightly differently. County's a big, complex operation, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of interaction. Do you have a set of metrics to know how your office is performing relative to what the county's trying to do? What is sort of the, what's that dashboard, 3 or 4 gauges with yellow lines and red lines that you can look at periodically to know if you're doing the things that the county needs to be done by the treasurer's office? Do you have such a measurement system, either quantitative or qualitative?
I don't. I try to go by, and a lot of this is with Ms. Wells' office and myself, where they're doing the bank reconciliation now, where I can really gauge like what we're missing by what isn't being, they'll send to me that needs to be done for bank reconciliations and stuff, so I know what we're missing. But otherwise, we're just busy collecting and trying to get the payments posted and get the dog tags out and the business license out and everything. We're just.
So in this scramble that you deal with every day to keep up with the county's financial obligations, would it be helpful to just have, like I said, a gauge, a dashboard with 3 or 4 gauges that warns you when you're getting too close to the ground and you might crash, whether it's defaulting on a bond payment or something? And excuse the engineering analogy, I can't get out of my blood, but so I'm just trying to, would that be something that maybe is a goal that you might want to have for the next, for your term, is to develop that sort of management dashboard?
What I've learned since, Stephanie's been very helpful with this, but as she's slowly turning stuff back over that I'm learning, I have learned that I can put the bond payments in, I can put the wire request in and everything for at least 30 days ahead of time. So usually now when they send me the information that a bond payment needs to be done, then I go on in there and I go ahead and set it to go on the date, a day or two before the date that they need it, to make sure that it gets to them in a timely manner. And I send the, usually it's Donna and Stephanie and them, the paperwork back that shows that it's been scheduled and the confirmation that it's scheduled to go and everything. So now I've started, when I get it, I go ahead, if it's within the time frame to be able to set up a wire, I go ahead and do that. If not, I mark it on my calendar on my desk and to send wire this day, and go ahead and schedule it on the day that I say to send it, so that I know that that's within the 30 days. So that's how I've got a desk calendar and a calendar I can take with me to see what's got to be done and what is scheduled. But if I could if I could put up a set of gauges that tells me, then that would be really helpful.
I'm just thinking from a business perspective, you're always looking at cash flow. Positive net cash flow is the life of the company, and I'm sure it's the same with the county's operations. Is there and I guess I'm beating a dead horse here, but is there 2 or 3 or 4 metrics around that kind of stuff? The inputs, we call it the in can and the out can, and we keep an eye on them. just, again, just to kind of keep you out of trouble and keep the county out of financial trouble so we don't have a bond default or
Well,
something.
and the finance department is really good that if they're gonna be doing a large check run, they go ahead and let me know ahead of time to make sure that we have the funds in the account, transferred in time to do the check run or make the payment. We go ahead and they give it to me early so that we can make sure that it's there. So between how they go ahead of time, then I can go ahead of time and make sure that we're covered.
Thank you.
Were those your questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So, regarding new initiatives for this year, I know you came to the supervisors and had proposed, and we accepted the proposal to do a lifetime pet fee,
Yes.
right? So I wondered how that was going in your estimation. I know just from personal experience, and I told one of your staff members when I saw her at church right after it had happened, and I think you can tell us why this happened, but, you know, we have one pet at home, and I received the bill a week before it was due. Like, it was very close between when I received the bill in the mail and when the payment was due. I think I actually wrote a check and had Randy drop it off for me, but I paid it on time. But can you explain, you know, your satisfaction with that program, you know, how that's going as far as collecting of the pet fees, and then maybe why it was such a short turnaround from when we received?
Why the short turnaround is because they were having to change everything and take all the old codes out for the spayed and neutered, not spayed and neutered, the 2 or 3 year spayed and neutered, 3 year not spayed and neutered, and just change everybody down to either a 1 year or a lifetime. So it took a little bit of manipulating in the system to get it, and then they had to reword the letters, and they went with the new Tyler form letters instead of the old one. So it was just a little bit of a slow process of getting all that done. But the lifetime license, I took out a box of tags, and we were to 600. So that makes, that's a real nice number for lifetime. I mean, it'll cut down as the year goes on, like in the next years, on the number of pet license, but the pet license is really a money consumer. You don't really make your money back on the 1 year tags. So, not with all the work that goes into it. So the lifetime will be, it'll cut down the number of tags we have to buy and the amount of mailing and everything we have to do.
Is
So
that
that's-
is that the lifetime of the pet
Yeah.
or the owner?
The lifetime of the pet.
Yeah.
And we offer the 1 year for the ones who have older pets and they're not sure how long their pet will be here. They can still get a 1 year.
Actuary data.
Yeah. So you said, you're right. So you said you took out a box of 600. How many, do you know how many pet licenses in total there are?
I think last year it was about 4,500 they sold. And I think they were on like 17 or 1,800 of the 1 year. They have really started filtering back in, and they're working on getting those out now, all of those out. And we're, you know, no kind of penalty on it. It's just get it in and
So
get
do
it
everybody's
back
bills
to
go
them.
out the same time? Because I think I got mine end of January and it was due like early February.
Yeah,
So we knew since July that, well, I'm gonna make the assumption, you know what happens when you do that, but we knew since the budget, you know, was ratified, voted on, et cetera, from July 1st to 24, that we were gonna make that change to the lifetime pet license and the 1 year, but yet they had a delay in deleting the codes and getting the letters out.
because they still had to, I don't know exactly what all they had to do in the background in Munis with doing all of that, but you have to keep some of the codes in there because if they have the 2 or the 3 year one and they lose it, you've got to replace it.
With the same.
So we're having to hold on to a few of those until that last year of the 3 years. And then we can get rid of all of those, but it's just a matter of it takes time to go in there and take all of that out and change everybody over and,
And that was Tyler did that. Munis.
Munis, mhm.
So, speaking of budget, it's about to be budget season, right? I know Randy and Stephanie are probably losing a lot of sleep over getting departmental reports and suggestions and things that people need for budget. Your budget for the treasurer's office runs through the county, right? And the board of supervisors. So, how's that going?
The only
this year.
thing that I asked them about, and I was gonna submit on mine, was the, travel and training. Because we have more that is required to be in the Treasurers Association of Virginia certification program. So those classes, they used to have the classes on the east side and the west side of the state. Now they're kind of central locating them. And if it's a 2 or 3 day class, then they've got to have overnight stay. So I'm just afraid that we're not going to have enough to cover all of us going to class.
So, are you in that program currently? And when does that culminate? Like, how long does it take?
Faye, one of my collections, she just started, so she's got to have all her classes by 2 years. So and it's $125 just to register her, and then she's going to her first class next month, and that was $180.
And where are you in the process?
I have 4 more classes to get my Master Governmental Treasurer. I already have my Master Governmental Deputy Treasurer, but I have to get my Treasurer one, and I have 4 more classes.
And was there like a timeline of when you had to
There's not for
achieve that to be
me.
a treasurer? No.
Are
It's-
any of these classes available online?
Some of them are, but some of them are not. And some of them we have to wait for them to, if it's available online, then that's the ones we pick, just to avoid having to go out of town. And the price-wise is still the same, whether they're online or away from the office. But if there's some that we can do that we need that's online, we take those.
So the budget, back to the budget package or the program where you would enter those changes and anything you needed for your budget, you're familiar with that, and you've put everything in, and
I'm working on getting all that put in, yes.
what's the deadline?
January 27th, in January.
Oh, the deadline was in the end of January, and you're putting it in.
Yeah, but the only change, I mean, if I don't, I would like the change, but if I didn't, I was okay with the rest of the budget.
So we don't do zero-based budgeting? We don't go back to like, here's what we're gonna need to run the county, we just start with the previous year? Is that what every department does?
No, I mean, each department kind of looks at it a little bit differently. I'd rather turn this over to Mr. Keaton. He's the budget officer.
Departments have increases and decreases in their budget. It's not, I mean, we might look at, prior years and say, okay, well, you only spent half of last year's budget, or the last couple of years, we might reduce it from there. So, yeah, I would say we do a modified version of zero-based budget. When you use the current year as a guide, but then we also look at actual spending for prior years and current year. And then some things, it was a one-time expense, so they don't use it. So, yeah,
And that is left to you to sift through?
Well, as a group,
Okay.
Stephanie and Don and myself and Marina and Teresa, we all do as a team.
And the expectation is you think you're gonna be able to go in and make that change?
Yes.
This week
I've
or-
already started working on them, yes.
Okay. So my other than the cash handling procedures, I did want to finish covering the transition report, but I also, as you know, when we met on February 21st, it really, as a former HR director, it's been a long time since I did HR and then hospital operations, I really have a soft spot in my heart for employees and payments and paychecks and on-time availability of funds. And so I asked you about this on the 21st. I wanted you to kind of just explain to the audit committee, because we talked about this, right? I think there were 4 paychecks in mid-September that were all of school employees that where money wasn't able to be paid to them when they turned in their check. And again, my heart was broken because it was the weekend of the fair, and I'm making up all these things in my mind as to things these poor guys, they worked for their money and then wanted to pay for things, and then the money, the check didn't cash. And so then I think, and we talked about this February 21st, there may have been one or two other instances of this in the fall, and then again in January, things were still kind of slipping through. So if you could just, tell the committee what we've done to try to repair that.
What we've done is now I go in, I have been into the bank, the Cash Pro system. Early in the morning at like 7:30 in the morning, I came in on a Saturday and checked it because we had some stale date checks, and there was an issue with how they were populating once we sent them in, and IT is working with the bank now to try to get that in the interim. I'll go in and any live checks that we have to do and everything. IT has showed me how to handle that so we don't have the stale date problem anymore. But it was showing that the checks were written in 2020, not 2024 or 2025. So it was stale dating them and sending them to positive pay. Well, there's weekends I've been in here and checked it, and it was there at 7:30. So the last incident, I came in that morning, I checked it at 9 o'clock no, it was the morning we were out for snow. I checked it at home. I took my laptop home. I checked it at 9 o'clock that morning. There was no positive pay. And then when the next day, one had came in where the bank doesn't actually populate it until, or they don't have to have it populated until 10 o'clock. So now we know the time frame. So at 10 o'clock, I go into the bank stuff, even if I don't have an email yet. I go into Cash Pro at the bank, see if there's any positive pay. If there is, I view the check information and either set it to pay or to decline it. And then my chief deputy, Angie, before she goes to lunch, she goes into positive pay, or goes into Cash Pro, goes into positive pay, make sure it has been paid or it has been taken care of. So there's two before lunch that's, going in and checking on it. If it's grayed out, she knows that I've already done it. And should she miss hers, my other employee, she goes in, if we get a final email, she goes in at like 3:30 or so and just makes sure that there's nothing showing on positive pay, so that all three of us have touched it to make sure that nothing is getting missed. Because we don't want their paychecks not to be paid either.
Was that the issue in January, the stale date
Yes.
thing?
Yes.
And
And
do you
see,
think the cause of that was an IT issue on our side or the bank side, or?
well, apparently in November, some things changed at the bank that they did not inform us of, because y'all's payment,
The VRS?
yes, kept getting declined, and we could not figure out why, and I called the bank about it, and they were like, Wells Fargo declined it. So finally, working with the payroll lady, she gave me a number, and I made some calls and got another number and made other calls, and come to find out, Bank of America changed some filters on the ACH side for us. So when we submitted the payment, then Wells Fargo sent it back to verify that it was a correct payment, and Bank of America would decline it at that time, even though we were the ones sending the payment. So it was causing all kinds of issues. And somehow the format changed from what it has always been, a 4-digit year, to just a 2-digit year on the format for these checks. And, nobody told us. So now IT is scrambling, trying to get all that fixed and change the formatting and make sure, and running testing with the bank to make sure it's all right.
And even with all of those things, there can still be positive pay issues, because as people are cashing checks with their phone, depositing checks with their phones, if it's a paper check and it's ink, it could get wet or have any other kind of issues in the mail. So there will still always be positive pays that need to be looked
Yeah.
for, observed, managed.
Yeah.
So even without any issues with IT, which is why it's good that that process is there, that we receive the exceptions emails, and then also going in and actually looking at the system and seeing if anything's there.
Julie, it seems like a lot of manual processes, so, it sounds like you're writing things on your desk calendar, you're having to come in on Saturdays and the weekends, and you got a backup to the backup, which I'm thankful for. I'm
Yeah.
a big believer in redundancy, right? So I'm thankful for your backup to the backup of Angie and then the other backup. But, are there ways that you can imagine that some of these things could be more automated and not so dependent, so that if you get hit by the proverbial bus, right?
Well, Angie is training to be able to do all this as well, not just me. So as I'm doing all of this, she is learning it. So the transfers, now she knows that to transfer money from the general fund to the schools until that allotted amount is depleted. Then she knows that that has to be transferred. She knows to go in there now, and whenever she, before she makes a transfer from the general fund to either one of the other accounts, she has to go in and see how much money is in the account. And, to try to pay attention, because she gets all the same emails, so she knows what checks are coming out, how much they think they're going to be, so that we make sure we don't overdraw the account.
So I know you mentioned it was your hope at the end of your term to leave a flash drive with policies and
It will be.
procedures and hints and tips and tricks, I'm imagining. Are those things that, I know it's not much fun to think about, but are those things that you're documenting now?
Yes,
You're starting that documentation
Yes,
so that,
I do the procedures, and I haven't put them on the flash drive because, of course, they change.
right.
So that flash drive would be a last step that I would do once, if it comes to that. That would be the last step, just to make sure that somebody didn't start off in the same position I did,
Okay.
because it makes it tough.
I can open it back up to other questions, but just want to make sure that we looked at everything that was on the handover, the turnover audit. So it was promptly remit state collections. I think that's the item that Ms. Sly talked about, where she understood she needed to submit the money monthly and it was daily. And that's the same thing with sheriff's fees, daily versus monthly. So those things have been rectified. Properly perform monthly reconciliations.
That's the one I'm working on. I'm getting them all caught up and getting them finished up.
What percentage would you think? I think when we met February
It was
21st.
about 33. Now we're probably about 45, because I got sick last week, so I'm a little
sorry.
behind.
Sorry about that.
That's why I sound so bad.
You don't sound bad. So, yes, I recall that. I think you said 35% perhaps completed on reconciliations on the 21st of February, so you think we're at 45%. And it's your goal to,
My goal is to have them done, everything done by the end of this month. They're all done and caught up, and everything is good to go rolling forward.
by the end of March.
Yes.
Okay. Promptly record manual transactions. That's, I think, what you were explaining with the receipts.
That's right. That goes back to just like the other estimated vouchers that comes in.
And you're up to speed on that now. Did they have to do this audit twice? Is that what you told me in the meeting on the 21st?
Yes, the first time, when they came in, because there were so many new treasurers in the state, they did not have enough state auditors to do the audits. So they had to hire outside CPA firms. The CPA firms they found did not do the audits right. So they had to go back. Ours was one done by an outside audit. They had to go back, redo the turnover audit, and then do my audit, which is why it was so delayed. Because they were putting numbers in the wrong places, so they just needed the documentation they had had before so they could redo it, and so it threw everything behind.
Okay, well, if we're going in order, I think we've asked questions on this side of the table. Mr. Broad, did you have anything else for?
No, I appreciate the dialogue, and I thought this was good to go through these questions. That was our key issue with that. So
There was one issue from the county audit. I think it was, I'm just recalling, I know you have a copy of it, Stephanie, but there was one thing, I think there was the third bullet on there that the auditor said.
Deposits, maybe?
It was the third thing that was in the audit, and the first two things I think we were doing and we had satisfied, but
So the
Yeah,
bank
that was-
reconciliations are being done by my office, the accounts receivable reconciliations are being done by my office, and then the third thing was the, public deposits that have to be, confirmed by the treasurer to the state.
Just for
where are we with that before you go to that? Are we doing that now?
Those, I did find a way. I was I had asked about it because you're supposed to confirm it to what we show, what, like our bank reconciliation, but I have found, I talked to Karen at the Treasury, and there's a way that I can still do the verify the funds without the bank reconciliation. So,
Is that
I'll be
gonna
able to get
satisfy
that.
our auditors?
Yeah, because it'll still, it'll be verified through their website, the
They said it's not-
SPDA.
They said it's not, you're not verifying what's on our, bank statements to what the bank is reporting, like our balance and the account.
Yeah, Karen with the Treasury said that I should take our bank reconciliation should come back to be whatever the bank statement says. As long as they come back to be the same, then I can verify it. If we don't have that, then I still verify what the bank says and then put a note in. So that would be an option if we,
Do we think that'll satisfy the auditor? Is that something worth
As
running
long-
by them?
As long as she's confirming the amount at the state, that's what they're looking for that item. What they're gonna have a problem with is that our bank reconciliations are behind, but hopefully we'll have them caught up by the time they get here and it won't be an issue.
Okay, all right, Ms. Grice, all right.
I just keep hearing the different functions your department has taken on. That- If my understanding is, and understanding this correctly, it used to be performed by the treasurer's office. And then I hear you saying you're understaffed, or have been understaffed. But the functions, many of the functions that was being performed have been transferred. How are we reconciling that?
Did we transfer an FTE?
Back in January, we transferred an FTE from her department to my department to have consistency with who was doing, with the ability to keep those bank reconciliations up, but then there was, that person is gone, so, those reconciliations are not currently current, because even back on to the earlier periods, I guess you could say, there's still some things that need to be posted. But to speak to your question, so are you asking why it happened? Or are you asking why she hasn't taken it back over yet? What is?
If we are filling her staff, but you're performing the duties, why do you need that staff?
I don't have the staff in my office. That position's not in my office anymore.
So for next year's budget, like 25, 26, will that FTE that went from treasurer's office to your office, will that remain in your office? And then will you recruit for that, or?
Well, so we still are doing the accounts receivable reconciliation, and so one thing that she and I had talked about before the position became vacant was sharing that position, since the accounts receivable reconciliation would stay in my office. And then she would manage that person for the bank reconciliation side of it. Or she could, if she wanted to change up the duties for her half of the position, that's fine too. But I would still need a half a position to continue accounts receivable reconciliation, maybe not quite a half. But the bank reconciliation is almost a full-time job, just because there's so many transactions that need to be reviewed and make sure that they are posted, and it's, potentially also for the school side too, to have that person so that the schools are not having to do their own bank reconciliations either. So there's DSS accounts, so there's a lot of bank accounts that are touched daily.
So you think that's the plan for the budget, Randy? Is that like half of an FTE and half?
We haven't changed any positions back to where they were before.
And the main reason why we had said to leave the position itself, even if she becomes managing the bank reconciliations is so that that one person doesn't report to two people. So that one person would still report to me, but she would still have the purview. And even now, you know, she's receiving the the cash accountability reports as well. She's receiving the AR reports. So she daily is in the bank accounts. So she hasn't been cut off from that. We are just performing the duties of that until she's in a better place, I assume.
Stephanie, any other questions or things you think we missed talking about with the treasurer?
There's nothing that I can think of at the moment that I don't have any questions or anything that I can think of that I need to bring up.
Okay. Mr. Berry, you getting what you need out of the treasurer's office?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. No other questions?
Sure.
Don, or, yeah.
Just one last thing, so thanks for your time and discussion. Would you be amenable to coming back, say, a year from now and talking about the trajectory of your office and some of these goals you talked about and how you're progressing against some of those goals? Okay.
Yes, sir, I would.
Yeah, maybe even sooner than a year. A year sounds like a long time. Yeah, maybe a half year,
Yeah.
but I like that idea. I appreciate the insight. You know, just as we close it up, I know that $86 million is a lot of money, cash to handle.
I wish I had that problem.
Yeah, and so when it comes to investments, that strategy and making sure that we're making money on our money is something I imagine that you review regularly. Is that something, like a topic that maybe we could talk about sometime?
Sure.
Just make sure our money is working for us the way that you imagine it should, and, you know, so that we have an understanding to support you in that. And I think the final thing is, I'm glad that you're 4 classes away from your master certification. I appreciate that. Are there any other educational, you know, avenues or mentorships or other things, you know, things you think you need that maybe we could help to get to make you more comfortable?
No, if we see a training, there's still a few in my office that are new that'll go to the classes, the TAV classes, the roles and responsibilities, and a customer service class that I try to send them all to, but because they're not members of the TAV, those classes they're a little more expensive. They're about $80 more per class, but it's a really important class for new people to the office to take, and we just have to wait for them to come closer because I can't afford to send 3 or 4 of them at one time. And I think the closest one for roles and responsibilities is in Stafford or something, and I can't afford to send all of them and spend the night too. So I'm just waiting to try to get it a little closer, maybe Newport News or even Richmond, and then I could send 1 or 2 of them. So I do try to watch to see when they're coming the closest.
Do you have a treasurer or mentor or anybody that you can, you know, another treasurer in another locality that you?
I talk to several. I have my old boss at Greensville County. I call and I talk to her. Ron Williams, Fred Parker out in Washington County, Paige Cherry. I've talked to a bunch of them.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
it's important to have your network.
I do. If I have a question, I try to start with like Ron and Fred, because Ron's been treasurer for 43 years and Fred's been treasurer now for 41. So they know a lot. So,
Any questions you have for us or anything else you wanted to
no ma'am.
say? Well, thank you again for your time.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Madam Chair, if I
Yes.
could just correct something that I said. Lynchburg is a city.
Lynchburg is a city.
It is a city.
Oh.
Roanoke has a charter. Roanoke County has a charter, but Lynchburg is a city which has a charter.
Our attorney was just correcting, Lynchburg is a city and have a charter. That's why some of their
That's why we
duties
pay him so much.
may be different, yeah. He's really good on a computer, does research.
But we took away his magazines.
Oh, we did? They're too
Year
expensive.
one,
You're one,
year
right?
one.
Okay, well, was that helpful? Yeah, again, I know we talked a little bit about the county audit.
From where we began last year, that was a very positive step forward, I would think.
Good.
Right? Is that what you feel?
Well, I think we've surfaced a lot of issues, and I think that, you know, our county staff is working hard to make sure they're supporting the citizens of the county and not letting things drop. I think anytime you have a change in leadership, heck, even a new audit committee member or a new, board of supervisor member, it's a lot. It's a lot to learn, right?
I think you hit the nail on the head. There seems to be a lot of manual management of processes there. And I think what we're looking for going forward is a more systemic, management of those processes, less likely to have, things fall through the cracks that fall in the citizens' lap. I think that's what we're kind of driving at with some of this discussion. That's why I was asking if she would be amenable to coming back in here
Yeah.
and showing us that roadmap, how she's kind of moving out of that management style.
Yeah, agreed. I don't really trust desk calendar notes and manual processes. Things get missed.
We've all been burned by it.
Yeah, and I appreciate redundancy, like I said, but
On
that's
the other
just,
hand, it's a step forward compared to not having it.
well, and it's also a step forward to at least identify where our blind spots are,
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
very good,
which
right.
this committee is helping, bring some of those things to light, so that these two ladies don't have to shoulder it all, right? Okay, so we will invite Ms. Sly back maybe in 6 months.
What do you think about the discussion? Have we made progress, do you think? Generally, and I'm talking very generally, I'm not in specifics.
Chair, I'll work with the secretary and send him what I think I recorded as what Ms. Sly's objectives, what I think they were. And we can put those into the meeting minutes, and then we can review those next time and see if that's what we think we heard, and use that for the basis of the next meeting of,
And inviting her to the next
Yeah.
meeting. Great,
just to kind of institutionalize the discussion.
thanks. I think there was a question on the table. I don't know, Ms. Wells, she's had a moment to think about it, but, just say what you're comfortable with.
Mr. Chair, before you go on to the CFO's report, I had a question of the schools.
Okay.
Do you have a cash management control policy?
I'm not sure if they do. I would imagine they have one, but it probably needs to be dusted off. We have it for all of our school activity funds.
I mean, just
familiar with
football
that one.
games, and I don't know if that's the clubs that put those on, but there's got to be cash moving there.
Yes.
Actually, they switched it to all online tickets. At any of the games, you have to only get in with an online ticket.
Yeah, I thought we were trying to eliminate, handling
That happened Graham's
cash.
senior year. It's been 2 years. You can't pay cash at a football game. You pay cash at the concession stand, and that's a booster club function.
So that's not schools in and of it. They're sponsoring that.
The booster club? Correct, yeah.
Is there
So-
any money back from the booster? Well, there is, because the booster club is there to support the school. Okay. And then.
But to Mr. Grice's point, I know you've reviewed this as part of the audit committee, but, perhaps that's something that the school board might want to adopt as well, so that we're all on the same management policy.
And you just brought, this last year, I think you brought the food service
Back in.
in-house, right?
Mhm. Right.
And,
We don't make change.
right.
Oh, really?
No, because we're trying to get the parents to pay ahead of time. Do some prepay, do online deposits.
Yeah, I know I did that in the portal. It's pretty easy to use. So you put in their account, and then when they're out, I don't think they didn't not feed my son, but you got to
No,
note
we
that
would
you had to
never-
put more money
yeah.
in. Yeah.
We would never deny a child a meal.
He was trying to
Um,
get 2 lunches every
So
day.
instead of making change, we just basically put whatever that change would be on account,
Oh,
but so we don't exchange cash, so.
And does this have anything to do at all with the collection for those meals?
I'm not following your question.
Well, I guess you are accepting cash. You're not giving change,
Correct.
okay? And I know that almost every audit that I've been through with the schools, there's always some comment about Johnny wasn't supposed to be charged that much, but Sally was, and all that good stuff.
oh, the qualification for the free reduced lunch?
And all the different programs and so on. It's very convoluted, I know. So,
I-
Yes, and that was a finding on each of the last 2 audits, was a finding on how those were being handled, and so our child nutrition department has put a process in place, a written process of how they're managing that going forward so that we don't have that mix-up.
Very good.
Although I think this year, did we already pull some files that maybe weren't quite kosher?
So for
That
the,
could-
for the 24 audit,
Right.
which ended June 30th of 24, basically half of the year, the first half of the school year, fell under that audit finding because we didn't put things in place until January of 24.
Yeah.
But for July 1 of 25, we have the processes in place.
Very good. Thank you.
Were you gonna say something? Sorry, I feel like I
Well,
cut somebody else off. Okay, all right.
I'm sort of waiting, so.
I'm hopeful that it will lead to progress, and that we take from this that there's more to be done. There's more work to be done and more progress to make. But she has expressed that she's learning, and I've been in a precarious position because I've been doing things that aren't my responsibility and could even be taken by some people, trying to do my job. She's trying to do my job, but, I felt like it was more important for the work to get done. But I do try to communicate with her as much as possible so that she knows that there's things that need to be done, or ask her to handle them instead of me handling them for her. But, I had the expertise and the ability to make it happen, and it needed to happen, so I did it. So hopefully over time it'll get better and things will go back to the way things, I guess, should be. The accounts receivable may always stay in my office because there are other localities that do it that way. So we'll see. I'm hopeful. See how it goes.
I've noticed that communication is getting more frequent. Would that be an accurate statement between?
Recently, yeah, I know especially since this audit in particular, since that one's been out, there's been a little more response to things. So, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully.
Well, we're all hoping, I know, as an audit committee, that we can continue to support you both and the treasurer, make sure that we're bringing things to light and not sweeping them under the carpet. Bacteria grows in the dark, right? So if we talk about it, then we have a chance at fixing it. And again, at least knowing where our blind spots are.
So, I guess my thought is, I don't need to, but I don't have a clear picture of where we still stand with one, manual versus auto, and role responsibility versus, should there be a list that we sort of work on to see that it gets burnt down? And that's a question.
Stephanie had created a list of treasurer's duties, I think, that we had in our
way
binder.
back when you presented that list, and
Yeah,
that would be a
there's
good guide, I would suspect.
Yeah, there's a cash management duties
That's
sheet
it, yeah.
that talks about the different duties, which this one actually is slightly out of date, and it talks about which the treasurer wanted to keep and which she wanted to turn over to my office. And then, of course, there's a few things broken out for utilities because utilities is no longer managed. The utilities collections is no longer managed in her office. So if you would like to take a look at that, are there other things that are not on this list? I wouldn't be surprised. No list can be perfect, but this is a pretty substantial list of what needs to occur. So,
Well, maybe next month we can review that, and that'll dovetail nicely with what Mike's gonna compile for us as to what you understand Ms. Sly thinks is her objectives, right?
Sure. I'm curious, Ms. Wells, how that list relates to the one that Attorney Jones read off about 45 minutes ago from the statute. Have we done that bounce?
so this is in more minute detail.
Okay,
So where he gave something that was a higher level, this is what needs to be done on a daily basis to make sure all of those things are managed.
Okay.
It talks about who's going to receipt the sheriff fees and submit to the state. I mean, actually, things like who's going to do the bank reconciliation.
So it's more who than what?
It's
It
both.
has the what that is assigned to who.
Okay.
Reconciliation of accounts receivable, reconciling daily receipts to the general ledger. So it's very detailed list of things that need to occur and who's responsible for them. Because she wanted to turn a handful of the things over to my office as she has done, that are actually under her purview, like the bank reconciliations, which there are other places that bank reconciliations are done by the Budget and Finance Office. So because there has to be a separation of duties, if she didn't have access to general ledger, absolutely she should do the bank reconciliations. Because she has access to the general ledger and makes journal entries to the general ledger, it's better that somebody who doesn't have that access is doing the bank reconciliations. So that being a separation of duties, you can make the argument that it's okay that my office does bank reconciliations.
Okay.
She still has full access to the bank account and can make all the transactions that she needs to make. So as far as the accounts receivable stuff, other places, Budget and Finance are responsible for reconciling accounts receivable. So, you know, nothing that is being done is like, oh, that's against statute, we'll go behind. But she is responsible for it. So let's say that she turned a blind eye and I did something wrong. Then it falls back on her bond for making sure she's not fulfilling her duties, so.
Thanks for that clarification.
All right, so we'll talk about that next month too.
My principal concern about the whole thing is, yours is from more of a systems point. Mine is from a staffing, an organizational structure that makes sure that we are being cost effective in staffing the appropriate way so that and there are no duplications.
There's none. That you still need that one position that's in my office, and as much as work that needs to be done and reconciled on a daily basis, you need that position.
What surprised me was, it was an ongoing, and it was on multiple occasions, as she said, I didn't have my staff. And yet, every time I heard something that was previously being done by that staff, that organization, is no longer there, you're doing it. And are you staffed to do it?
Now that I have that one person, yeah.
So those are the things I'm looking at, and making sure, you know, does she need, I don't know what her staff is, maybe it's 6 people, 9 people, whatever it happens to have been. But that organization should be looked at it from a functionary standpoint, and the skill set should be there. But it should, if they're transferring duties and responsibilities, you need that staff.
So it's a difference of what functions. She's trying to say that the functions that she wasn't able to perform was because she didn't have the staff. She said now that she's fully staffed. And if you count her fully staffed since November, and I'm not fully staffed, I'm a new person, but that one role is not filled. But if you take those pieces aside, the pieces that she's responsible for, she's saying she's fully staffed for. She's still not fully staffed as far as who's in her office right now to do bank recs. I would have to transfer that person to her office,
Or a half a person.
or a half person.
Okay.
Well, I'll make sure that we look at that specifically in this budget season.
And the only other thing is on the training, we do have per diem and hotel cost structure, so that needs to be incorporated in making, she may not be aware of them, or may have an idea of what they were in a previous position. So, I mean, the only people that are authorized to stay at the Taj Mahals of the world are the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, I heard.
And no, they don't let us go anywhere except for once a year.
Yeah.
To Windsor.
Right. No.
So I have a question for Randy. Where does the treasurer's office get their overhead funds?
From the county budget. I mean, we mean,
So from you, basically?
correct, that's right.
Through the board?
Right. I did want to clarify one thing about the collection percentage. We have that in our audit every year, and it shows the last 10 years. So in So over the last 10 years, just to give you a range, it's been anywhere from 96.01% to 97.92%. That's over the last 10 years. This past year was 96.46. The year before it was 96.76. So it's in a very, very narrow range. We've always had very good collection rates regardless of who was in the office. For 2024, it was a combination of Ms. Sly had the last 6 months of the year, and Ms. Atkins had the first 6 months of the year. So it was a split between two different treasurers, one who was the interim treasurer and one who was, so it's not very different from prior years, but it has always been in that very narrow range, which was very good.
She mentioned 87%.
I don't know where that came from, to be
Yeah, I don't
honest.
either. That's why I wanted to clarify
Okay.
that. That might have been in the middle of the year, but you don't count the tax collection rate till the end of the year.
Sure.
It doesn't matter what it is during the year, it's what it is at the June 30.
Right, because if you bill if things are due December 5th, and you're, looking at your rate for December, it might be, or January, it might be 87%, because people haven't paid their bills.
And it could be a large taxpayer paid on January 1st versus December 31st.
Oh.
Or, I mean, it's a timing issue. So the amount during the middle of the year is interesting, but it's really not that relevant until the end of the year.
Sure.
Well, that was a surprise to me too, when she drew up on a number that I had no idea where she was getting it from, because that's never been one of our year-end numbers.
Yeah, but anyway, I just want everybody, and that is on page 257 of our audit report, so you can pull it up and see. And I know I've told the board, I've told staff that other places I've worked, they would have loved to have had this tax collection percentage. This tax collection percentage is really,
Eye-watering?
yeah, very good, yeah.
Okay, good. But,
Randy, one other question, if I may, Madam Chairman.
Yeah.
I know that the county supplements some of the state compensated people.
Mhm.
Is this a position that receives additional compensation from the county?
Which one?
The treasurer.
The treasurer, because we have some newer, we have a couple of new constitutional officers. I think they're receiving the minimum that the Constitution, the comp board requires. But then for the other positions in the office, it's a matter of market demand. So those positions are on our pay scale. The constitutional officers are not on our pay plan. So typically, when they start, if they're first elected, they receive the minimum, and then as they progress through their time, they receive benefits like everybody else does. But for the employees, they're on the pay plan, and whatever their,
Can I clarify one thing? There are some constitutional employees that even though we have to meet their minimum, the state doesn't pay 100% of that. And I can't recall if treasurer is one that we only do 80% or not. I'd have to confirm that.
yeah, you're right. But yeah, they set a minimum, it doesn't mean we get reimbursed that amount.
Right.
Yeah.
I know that there were positions, and the ones that come to mind are I think the clerk's office, where they're paid a certain amount from the state, and then we augment that income.
So yes, but it's the courts. We give them a small percentage.
That's general district court and juvenile and domestic relations court. Those are completely state employees. We just pay a small stipend, but for the clerk of superior or clerk of circuit court, those are county employees, and they're treated just like the treasurer's office, the sheriff's office, or commissioner of revenue.
So it's not as bad as the supplementing the SOQs at the school.
Right.
No,
Okay.
But it's
not
similar.
as bad. Similar,
Yeah.
Still unfunded mandates, right? That they change all the time. All right, I think as far as the reports go, we discussed with Ms. Sly what I thought we needed to discuss for reports. I really have nothing new with that. Moving on, and I'm gonna make a promise to get us out of here before 6 o'clock because it's already 5:46, but moving on to old business. I think Mr. Stanton had, we had a previous discussion that was talked about, widely in the county and in the paper about trying to help the animal shelter get more grants and funding and, tax shelters so that they can do some of that. I want to just restate that at no time did I ever want to buy this shelter from the sheriff's department for $1. At no time did I want to take over anything, any part of operations of the animal shelter, as was quoted. My simple request was, hey, if there are groups in the country that would like to give money to care for animals, if there was a nonprofit that was very supportive of our function and the animal shelter in the county, wouldn't that make sense for a small, private, like-minded group of citizens to form that group, not having anything to do with anything we do in the county, but to form that group and to apply for nonprofit status so that maybe we could get more money to take care of, pets in the county and to support the sheriff's office and the shelter and all the good people that work there. So I think, Mike, you said you knew of someone who had done something similar in the past.
They created a structure in Virginia Beach. If you want, I'll dig into some details on that. But they created a parallel nonprofit structure to help their animal shelter. If you'd like for me, I'll look into that some more.
Sure. And that'd be great. Thank you. It's really at this point a private matter and a 501c3 that'll need to be stood up like anything, through as an entity through the State Corporation Commission, and then formulate a board of directors and bylaws and rules and regulations, et cetera, and then apply for nonprofit status. Again, with only good intentions. Certainly no plans to take over the operation of the shelter. So, still working on that because that's kind of moved to a private matter, but I would love your assistance if there's information in Virginia Beach that could help.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, as far as new business, Mr. Stanton also had a question that he had emailed me before the meeting about just the status of federal grants and funding and, if any of the changes that have kind of been made with current administration, if it's causing any issues or non-payments or, if just anything's going around in that regard, and especially as we get into budget season for after July 1st, if there's federal money that would normally come to the schools and filter through, and now you're hedging and you're thinking maybe it won't, which, maybe it will, maybe it won't, it's fine. There's certainly a lot of things in flux. But just wanted to open that discussion and see if there's any ongoing concerns and or just things about.
We had been awarded a grant through a federal grant, and it was through a consortium of Suffolk schools, Portsmouth schools, and Isle of Wight County schools, and it was called the Teacher Quality Partnership. And it basically was providing living wage stipends to help people either that are already in, the education profession, but to help them get a bachelor's degree and license to become a teacher. And then also there was an administrative side where if somebody that already had their teaching license and they wanted to become an administrator, they could do that too. And it was a little over $10 million for 5 years. And the first, started October 1st, as with all federal grants, and on February 12th, it was canceled.
How many people would you say are affected by that in Isle of Wight County?
It was supposed to be a total of, in the first year, was going to be 40 participants. And it wasn't necessarily going to be, evenly broken out between the 3 districts. But the one program that did get started was the administrative side. And we actually had 3 in Isle of Wight, 6 in Suffolk, and another 3 in Portsmouth. And we were able to draw down enough funds to make the first living wage stipend payment to them. Now, they may not be able to complete the program because there isn't any money to pay them for their second round of classes. So I think they had to do it in like 18 months. So it was extremely disappointing. So that's the only one I'm aware of so far. The other major funding that we get, of course, you all probably know, is the title grants 1, 2, 3, and 4, and IDA funds.
I'm sorry, what's IDA, ma'am?
IDA is individuals with disabilities,
Oh, okay.
education, I can't remember how
Is that funding at risk as well?
We haven't heard anything, but I think all the federal funding, especially through the Department of Ed, is at risk.
But Title I, II, III, and IV, we're still getting money.
And IDEA, yes.
IDEA, yeah, that sounds right.
IDEA, yes.
I know when the gentleman came from the Community Services Board and gave the supervisors a report within the last month, we asked him, I think there was a DEI program that he had to stop. It was fairly small money, as I can recall. But other grant funding hadn't been affected, according to him, so that's good news. Stephanie, anything you know of from the county other than school money?
So ironically, we just finished a drug court grant, so I did notice that our access was cut off to the payment system, but we had already drawn everything down for that. The other funding we have through the EPA is at risk for obvious reasons. That money was to build, help build the Riverside water tank, and it looks like Mr.
Yeah, I've actually talked to Representative Keegan's office, and they've assured me that that money is safe. So we've, we had a CEO meeting over in Chesapeake, and her representatives there, and this is when all the stuff started happening. So I'd asked her about it, and they had someone from their office call me about it, and I explained to him, and he said they had checked on it, and it was supposedly safe, so I guess until the next whatever thing happens. But we've already started the process where we've solicited application or bid. We're in the bidding phase right now, so that's a major component of our capital project for the water tank. Now, that's a congressionally directed grant, so maybe our congressperson can help us more so in that, and our senators can help us more in that, because they're the ones who secure that funding for us. So,
Not that we want to put ourselves on their radar, but certainly.
well, we're trying to make sure we don't get on the other person's radar. We're trying to make sure we're on the right radar.
And
So,
there is a possibility.
anybody who has access to Representative Kiggins or Senator Warner or Senator Kane would be helpful to reiterate that point to them, that this is very important to Isle of Wight County citizens and taxpayers.
I know that program about 4 or 5 years ago was off the table for a while, and it had just been reinstated, and we started participating in it again. And I believe we received the invitation from Representative Higgins rather late, but we got it in.
Well, we'd already started with Senator Warner's office. They had sent it to us first,
Yeah.
because it's all three of them collaborate together. So each of the state senators and then whatever congressperson district you're in, they work together on that. So I think last year Senator Warner had already, their staff already reached out to us and said, hey, this is available, and we'd already started the process. And then we had to get sign off from Representative Keegan's office.
Yeah, Bobby, when he was our senator, or House Representative, he, I think 2 years in a row, he got us in.
Right. That's
Bobby
right.
Scott.
And we got money for Tyler's Beach and also for broadband.
Yeah, so
then,
speaking of broadband, the VATI grant, is that safe?
Batty grant.
Isn't that,
That's pretty much all drawn down.
Yeah, that, Isle of Wight's grant is safe in that, like
That's
you said, we're
spent,
almost done. Future funding, because a lot of it is also state funding, I think is in pretty good shape. But there's some BEAD money that we've just done this year that we've been told is safe, but we don't know if anything's safe at this point, quite frankly.
Some of the other big pots of money that we received from federal is transportation funds for our transportation projects, and then large amounts of money obviously is part of what DSS. So if they receive cuts, these Medicaid cuts, that would be a big impact to them. So it's a lot of unknowns. Nothing has been, I guess, drawn back from us yet that we know of.
So you say your access to the drug court account was cut off?
So the, it's an ASAP system, which is where you draw down funds from the federal government.
Yeah, so you had drawn it down. Does that mean for budget 25-26, we won't be able to offer
There
that?
won't be, we're done with that grant.
We're done with it.
Yeah.
Other areas that we're looking at, and these are our partners, but Emergency Management, Virginia, VDM, they call it, 70% of their funds are federal funds. So that's an area of concern. We do receive some small grants, pass-through grants to them, about $40,000 a year. Also, with the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization, almost all of their planning funds are federal funds. So that's a big area of concern. Some of the PDC's funds are federal grants. So just about every aspect of local and state government could have drastic impacts.
Thanks for that oversight. Back to Teacher Quality Partnership, is that the name of the program, Lisa? So just kind of walking that out, how many teachers or new teachers did you say in the county are potentially impacted by this, not able to get their license? You said 3?
That was for the administrator.
The administrators.
Becoming an administrator
The teacher side
program.
was 40?
No, it was a total. It was 30 on the teacher and 10 on the administrators, even though we ended up having 12
Okay.
total. But it's not just in the county, so it would be between Suffolk,
Okay.
Portsmouth, and Isle of Wight schools.
Okay.
But yes, it was supposed to be that amount every year for 5 years.
Okay. So does that have, and kind of an ethereal question here that you can't answer, but something we need to think about, what is the impact to schools retaining certifications if we can't have teachers with the proper licensing, right?
Well, but the purpose of this grant was due to the teacher shortage
Sure.
that we're experiencing. So that why it's like trying to set you up to grow your own, if you will. So that's where we're at a loss for.
So potentially classroom sizes could grow as a result of this because we don't have enough licensed teachers coming in?
We are not experiencing that, but sure, ultimately that could be what happens.
Yeah, I think our vacancy rate, the last time I checked on it, as compared to other school districts, is very low.
Okay.
It's something like, it's just what's in my brain, like Suffolk had a 20% vacancy rate to start the school year, and I think Isle of Wight's was only 5%. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it was more, 7 or 8, but it's close enough.
So
Certainly
we're-
is not 20.
So we're assessing the long-term risk at this time is small.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Are we still using non-college grad folks for substitute teachers?
Yes, I can tell you that because my daughter's one.
Oh,
And it's
But they
a
have-
different pay rate.
Yeah,
You
they
have
have
to
a different pay rate. We
You have to have at least 60 hours and then, or 120, and then once you have your degree, then you get paid a little more.
Yeah, but you have them at the high school, a high school graduate, associate's degree, bachelor's degree. I mean, you just have different rates for those subs.
Were you gonna add something, Don?
No, I was just gonna say that's outsourced. So, and that's a issue probably nationally.
We're not having too much of a problem getting subs.
No, I mean, they're using subs at different levels of educational background.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, it's handled by ESS, which many of the localities use, many schools use. All right, so then appointments, because we are at 6:01. Technically, I have till 6:03 to get you guys out of here in 2 hours. But as far as appointments go, we have an empty seat. So what's the will of the committee as far as replacing that seat? Is that something, since it was a supervisor seat, would it be?
The Board of Supervisors appoints to this committee.
Okay. And so would the Board of Supervisors appoint another supervisor to the seat or a citizen?
Bylaws, we have 7, and the chair and vice chair of Board of Supervisors.
Okay, all right. So, we'll put that on the agenda for, as Mr. Jones indicated, for our list of appointments. There's a lot of flux that's going on with that, so we'll discuss that and make an appointment from the current Board of Supervisors now that we're, fully back up to our number, with the addition of Mr. DeStefano as an appointment. I know he took his oath on Friday. What's that?
And I think internally, we select, or we vote for chairman and vice chairman, do we not?
I don't know that was there a vote?
Yeah, we
I don't
voted.
recall.
Yeah, we voted, and Mr. McCarty was voted chairman, and I was,
Dick, you nominated the slate, right, if I remember right?
I was nominated for what?
You nominated the slate of officers.
Oh, yeah.
But I believe in this case, you have become chair by default.
Right.
So the oncoming member will be vice chair.
Vice chair, no.
okay. All right, yes, any other?
Just one item. The RFP for the audit, I thought about it after the meeting, and if, hopefully everybody is okay with this, I would like to wait until the next audit year to do an RFP, considering all the changes that have occurred, and, you know, we have, a lot on our plate right now, and would like to not have to add a new auditor. We'd have to train on Isle of Wight for that.
But you did not have another option year, if I recall. Is that correct? You did not have another option year in the current contract, so you're gonna have to negotiate this?
So we wouldn't negotiate it, we would just extend the contract, but it would be its own procurement, basically. We would just select them as
Okay.
our,
Using the same existing set of contract requirements? Okay.
I think you had indicated last meeting that that was a possibility, that you could extend, right? So, I think that makes sense. not that-
as long as they don't exceed the $80,000 threshold, then we could use them again by using our small purchase procedures.
Great. All right, anything else for the good of the order? Meeting adjourned, thank you.
Thank you.